universe has a dark sense of humor. It waits until you're at your lowest, then shows you that things can always get worse. I learned this truth 3 weeks after completing my pilot training as I watched another Balkan colony burn. The Threens had a particular way of starting their occupations. They always destroyed our birthing pools first. The screams of dying larvae still echo in my dreams, their final desperate cries cut short by plasma charges that turned our future into ash. Some say I'm a traitor, others call me a coward. The military command sentenced me to death in absentia, but when you're watching your entire species march toward extinction, labels stop mattering. What matters is survival, and sometimes survival means doing the unthinkable, like stealing your race's most advanced ship and flying straight into the domain of the most feared species in the galaxy. The humans. Even now, centuries later, their name is whispered like a curse, a cautionary tale of what happens when you push a species too far. They were once like us, naive, hopeful, eager to join the galactic community. Their story began with smiles and ended in terror, leaving behind a legacy written in the ashes of their enemies. I remember the moment everything changed. I was lying in my bunk after another failed defense, my arm draped across my eye stalks to hide the shame of retreat. The Threens had just taken another world, another birthing pool destroyed, another piece of our future erased. My wingmate, Kreleval, was attempting to boost morale with tales of theoretical counterattacks we both knew would never work. The idea that would change the fate of our species came to me then, born from desperation and nurtured by rage. The humans had once faced similar betrayals, similar humiliations. But unlike every other race in the galaxy, they didn't accept their fate. They fought back. And in doing so, they became something more terrifying than any natural force in the known universe. The Dolvans were the first to teach humanity about galactic politics. They stripped Earth's resources without payment, laughing as they departed with their stolen wealth. Now you know to get payment up front, they had mocked. That knowledge is the only payment you'll get from us. The human smiles had faltered then, but they still clung to hope. That was their first mistake. Their second mistake was trusting the Sleen Empire. When the Sleen invited 100,000 humans to settle on their worlds, it seemed like a chance for redemption. Instead, those colonists found themselves in chains. When humanity demanded their people's return, the Sleen's response was as cruel as it was elegant. They sent 100,000 Feridium-tipped missiles into human cities. One missile for each captive. The message was clear: this is what trust gets you in our galaxy. But it was the Jandis Collective that truly broke humanity's spirit. They came as saviors, offering medicine to treat the Viridian burns. At first, it seemed like a miracle cure. Then the deaths began. The medicine was actually a test of biological weapons, turning human suffering into scientific data. I've seen the classified records. The death toll was catastrophic. That's when humanity changed. They went silent, cut off all contact, closed their borders. The galaxy laughed at first, the primitive humans, running away to lick their wounds. But 2 years later, they broadcast a single message that should have frozen the blood of every species in the galaxy. We welcomed you with open arms. Some of you laugh at us, and that is fine. But if you betrayed us, this is your only warning. Run. Nobody ran. Nobody took them seriously. The Sleen Empire even threw parties mocking the humans' cute little threat. Their laughter died when human ships appeared above their 7 core worlds. The new Viridian weapons the humans had developed didn't just kill, they made the very air burn. Entire planets became uninhabitable in hours. The Jandis Collective thought themselves safe behind their advanced medical technology. They weren't laughing when their worlds started dying from an engineered virus that combined their own bioweapon with something humans called leprosy. It caused living flesh to rot and fall from the bone. There was no cure. The Dolans begged for mercy then, offering double payment for their stolen resources. Human warships appeared above their homeworld in response. Nobody knows exactly what happened to the Dolans. Their entire civilization simply ceased to exist. Humanity's final message still echoes through our historical records. Do not come near human space. Do not approach us. Do not contact us. Do not even mention us. If any ship approaches, be it a vessel of peace or war, it will be destroyed. There will be no further warning. Of course, the galaxy's powers couldn't let such defiance stand. They assembled the largest fleet in known history, Thousands of ships from dozens of species, all united to teach humanity a lesson. Not a single ship returned. Not one. For 6 centuries, humanity remained a shadow at the edge of galactic consciousness. Every few decades, some ambitious diplomat or foolhardy explorer would venture into their space. The result was always the same. Their engines would mysteriously fail, followed by total destruction. No warnings, no demands, just silent, efficient death. And here I was, lying in my bunk, contemplating what no sane being had attempted in centuries. My wingmate's voice pulled me from my thoughts. "You're not seriously comparing us to those psychopaths, are you?" he chittered nervously. "The humans are monsters." "The humans were made into monsters," I corrected him, my eye stalks focusing on the ceiling. "Just like the Threens are making us into victims. Every day we lose another colony. Every day we watch our young die. And what do our leaders do? They keep trying to negotiate with creatures who see diplomacy as a joke." The idea growing in my mind was suicide, pure madness. But watching another birthing pool burn had broken something inside me. Perhaps that's what the humans had felt all those centuries ago. That moment when you realize the galaxy doesn't care if your entire species lives or dies. I spent that night studying everything I could access about human space. Their territory was vast but poorly mapped. Most probe ships disappeared before sending back useful data. But I had something no other pilot had, the fastest FTL drive ever built by my people, small enough to fit in a single pilot vessel. The next morning, during what should have been a routine patrol, I broke formation. My commander's voice crackled over the comm, threatening court-martial, execution, eternal shame. I killed the communication system and pushed my engines to maximum burn. Behind me, pursuit ships launched, but they couldn't match my speed. Within hours, I was beyond our territory, racing toward either salvation or certain death. Weeks passed in the lonely void. My food stores dwindled. The silence of space pressed in around me, broken only by the gentle hum of my engines. I rehearsed my speech countless times, though I doubted I'd live long enough to deliver it. Every passing moment could bring the legendary human response, instant, silent destruction. Then, without warning, my engines died. Every system reported normal function, but my ship hung motionless in space. This was it, the first sign of human intervention. My heart pounded as I activated my communicator, broadcasting on all frequencies. My voice trembled as I began my broadcast, knowing these could be my final words. "Greetings. I am Pilot Jav'een, of the 3rd Response Unit of the Balkan race." The silence that followed was deafening, broken only by the sound of my own ragged breathing. "I come to beseech your aid," I continued, forcing strength into my voice. "The Threen Empire is decimating our people and our worlds, and the galaxy at large just sits there, waiting, like vultures, to pick at the bones of my people and my culture." More silence. The void seemed to mock my desperation. "Once, your race also battled with the apathy and betrayal of the races of this wretched galaxy. You suffered as we do now, from the disdain and callousness of races that pledge to help, yet do nothing, from races that swear to defend, but instead betray." I checked my broadcaster, though I knew it was working perfectly. The humans were listening. They had to be. My food supplies would last another 3 days at most. After that, I would slowly starve in this metal coffin. "We were discovered as a world a century after you had left the galaxy. We never had the opportunity to know you, but I know of you. The old races speak your names in fear, as the only race to stand up to the evil that permeates the very core of this expanse of space." My voice grew hoarse as emotion overtook me. "I know why you turned your back on the other races. I understand, as my race is betrayed, just as yours was. But you can help us bring an end to the way things are. How can you sit on the sidelines, doing nothing while peaceful worlds burn?" The silence stretched on, mocking me. Rage began to replace fear in my heart. "How can you be so cruel?" I demanded. Then, in a moment of either bravery or madness, I screamed into the void. "How can you be so cowardly?" I waited for death, certain it would come swiftly now. Instead, my engines hummed back to life. Across my communicator, a single word scrolled from right to left. "Run." Fury exploded in my chest. After coming this far, after risking everything, they were dismissing me like some errant child. My fist slammed against the console. "Run? Run? My own people think I ran from a fight with the Threens, and now you tell me to run like the other races? You want to know the truth? You are the worst race of them all." The words poured out of me like plasma fire, each one burning with the accumulated rage of watching my people die. Without thinking, I sprinted to the engine room, yanked my sidearm from its holster, and fired directly into the FTL drive. My only way home, my only escape, my last hope. The weapon's discharge echoed through the cramped space as I emptied the entire charge cell into the delicate machinery, turning it into smoking slag. Breathing heavily, chest heaving, I stormed back to the cockpit. "Cowards!" I roared into the communicator. "You will not shoot me in the back. Look me in the eye stalks if you are going to kill me, and be done with it." Only silence answered. In a final burst of rage, I smashed my empty sidearm into the communicator again and again until it sparked and died. Now it truly would be silent. The next 2 days stretched into eternity. I sat huddled on the floor, hugging my legs to my chest, alternating between burning anger and crushing regret. Death in battle against the Threens would have meant something. This was just pointless. The first sign that something had changed was a subtle vibration running through the hull. Before I could process what was happening, a voice filled my head, not coming through any speaker, but seemingly emanating from the air itself. It spoke perfect Balkan, yet carried undertones that marked it as unmistakably human. "Pilot Jav'een of the Balkan Empire, I extend you greetings." The voice was neither warm nor cold, but carried a weight of authority that made my eye stalks quiver. "We have heard your request for aid in your conflict, and having spent the last days researching your plight, we, the Terran Empire, gladly offer you our unconditional assistance." I sat there, mouth agape, unable to form words. "Please stand by for your vessel to be taken aboard the UES Kavik for repairs." Finding my voice at last, I managed to stammer, "Thank you." "Your thanks are not necessary." The response came immediately. "In fact, we owe you an apology. We have distrusted the other races for so long, we forgot what it was like to face them alone. You reminded us of something we long thought impossible." "What is that?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. "That there can be other races out there, brave, defiant, good at heart. Races that remind us of us." As the voice faded, my viewport filled with an impossible sight. 6 massive warships materialized from nowhere, their angular forms bristling with weapons beyond my comprehension. They were beautiful and terrifying, like the ancient gods of war from our oldest legends. Help had come. The humans had answered. And the galaxy would never be the same. A soft blue light enveloped my ship, and I felt myself being drawn toward the largest vessel, the US Kavik. The hangar that swallowed my small craft could have housed our entire defense fleet. As my ship settled onto the deck, I noticed something odd. There were no crew members rushing to secure my vessel, no curious faces peering through viewports. Instead, sleek robotic arms emerged from the walls, beginning repairs on my ship with terrifying precision. "Your vessel will be restored," the voice explained, still seeming to come from everywhere and nowhere. "We apologize for maintaining physical distance. 6 centuries of isolation have changed us. Our current form might be disturbing to other species." Over the next several days, I learned why humanity had truly disappeared. They hadn't just been hiding, they had been evolving, merging with their technology in ways that defied conventional understanding. Their ships weren't simply vessels, they were extensions of their consciousness. The weapons they wielded weren't just tools, they were manifestations of their will. Through interactive holograms, they showed me what they planned for the Threens. I watched in awe as simulations played out, displaying military precision that bordered on artistry. The humans had spent centuries perfecting the science of warfare, developing technologies that made their previous acts of vengeance look like child's play. "We monitored your approach for weeks," they explained. "Your determination to reach us, even at the cost of your own life, proved that your species might be worthy of trust." The galaxy has changed little in our absence. Most races still prey upon the weak, viewing diplomacy as a tool for exploitation. They showed me recordings of my people's struggles, captured by cloaked observation drones I never knew existed. "Your race fought with honor," they said, "even when victory was impossible. You never turned to betrayal or cruelty, even in your darkest hours. This is why we will help." The plan they proposed was both elegant and terrifying. The Threens' greatest weakness was their absolute certainty in their superiority. They had never faced an enemy they couldn't overwhelm with brute force. That was about to change. Your people will need to be prepared, the voice warned. What happens next will reshape the power structure of the galaxy. Are you ready to bear that responsibility? I thought of our destroyed birthing pools, of countless larvae murdered before they could draw their first breath, of colonies reduced to ash. My answer came without hesitation. We've been ready since the day they killed our first child. The first strike came without warning at the Threen colony of Nextor. I watched from the bridge of the US Kavik as 6 human warships simply materialized in the heart of the Threen defense fleet. There was no ultimatum, no declaration of war, just the silent efficiency that had become humanity's trademark. The battle, if you could call it that, lasted precisely 2 minutes and 47 seconds. Threen shields, impenetrable to our most powerful weapons, crumpled like tissue paper before quantum disruptors. Their mighty dreadnoughts, which had terrorized our colonies for so long, were carved apart by weapons that seemed to ignore the very laws of physics. But it was what happened next that truly demonstrated humanity's evolution. As the last Threen ship burst into fragments, a message broadcast across all frequencies. Not in words, but in pure thought and emotion. Every Threen in the sector experienced firsthand the terror of our dying children, felt the agony of our destroyed colonies, lived through centuries of humanity's own pain and rage. The message concluded with a simple ultimatum. You have 1 standard day to withdraw from all Balkan territory. This is not a negotiation. This is not a threat. This is mercy, something you never showed others. You have seen what we can do. You have felt what we have felt. Choose wisely. The Threens, for all their cruelty, were not stupid. Within hours, their fleets began retreating from Balkan space. But humanity wasn't finished. They had spent centuries perfecting not just the art of warfare, but the craft of lasting peace through absolute deterrence. As Threen ships fled, human vessels appeared in every major system simultaneously, deploying what they called quantum anchors, devices that could instantly disable any ship showing aggressive intent. Our territory would never again be defenseless. Your people must learn to use these technologies, the human voice explained as we watched the Threen exodus. We will not fight your future battles, but we will ensure you have the means to fight them yourselves. This is the balance we failed to find in our own past, the difference between protecting and controlling. Over the following months, I worked alongside the humans, or rather, their automated systems, helping to integrate their defensive technologies into our existing infrastructure. They were careful about what they shared, remembering their own bitter lessons about trust. But what they did provide transformed our civilization. The most profound change, however, wasn't technological, it was psychological. The galaxy had watched as humanity, the species they had once mocked and betrayed, returned to save another race from extinction. The balance of power wasn't just shifting, it was being completely rewritten. The ripples of humanity's return spread through the galaxy like a shockwave. Species that had spent centuries comfortable in their power suddenly found themselves re-evaluating their positions. The Jandis Collective, who had survived humanity's first vengeance, quietly began withdrawing from contested territories. Other predatory races, seeing the fate of the Threens, started seeking diplomatic solutions to their conflicts. But the humans weren't interested in becoming the galaxy's peacekeepers. They had learned that lesson centuries ago. Instead, they began identifying other species like mine, civilizations that showed the potential for honor and growth. Through carefully measured assistance, they created a network of allied worlds, each capable of defending itself, each committed to preventing the strong from preying upon the weak. I remember the day I finally asked the question that had been burning in my mind since that first encounter. Why did you make us wait? Why did you watch our people die before intervening? The answer came not in words, but in a series of vivid mental images, scenes from humanity's own history. I saw them making the same mistakes we had nearly made, rushing to help others only to be betrayed, offering technology to those who weren't ready for it. The galaxy teaches harsh lessons, the voice explained. We needed to be certain you would learn from them rather than repeat them. They showed me what had happened to races they had tried to help in the past. Civilizations that had taken human technology and immediately turned it against others. Species that had interpreted humanity's assistance as weakness and tried to conquer them. Races that had collapsed under the weight of advancement they weren't prepared to handle. Your people proved themselves different, they continued. Even in the face of extinction, you maintained your honor. You never turned to biological weapons, never targeted civilian populations, never betrayed your allies. You earned our trust, not through words, but through actions. The transformation of my people was remarkable to witness. Within a year, we had rebuilt our destroyed colonies, protected by defensive systems that made them virtually impregnable. Our birthing pools were now safeguarded by technologies that could stop a planet-killer weapon. But more importantly, we had learnt to balance strength with wisdom. The humans taught us that true power isn't in the ability to destroy, but in the choice not to. They showed us how to be strong enough that others dare not attack us, yet restrained enough that they need not fear us. It was a delicate balance, one that had taken humanity centuries of isolation to perfect. 5 years after humanity's return, I stood before the newly formed Galactic Defense Council, a body that would have been unthinkable in the old order. Representatives from 24 species gathered to discuss mutual protection and technological exchange, with humanity serving not as rulers but as advisors from the shadows. The Threens, their empire, now a fraction of its former size, sent observers to these meetings. They sat silently, their once proud bearing replaced by careful humility. Occasionally, their representatives would glance at the empty section of the chamber reserved for human delegates, a reminder that the most powerful force in the galaxy chose to watch rather than rule. But the humans weren't as absent as they appeared. Their presence was felt in subtle ways, in the quantum communication networks that connected member worlds, in the defensive systems that protected vulnerable species, in the carefully measured technological advances they released when civilizations proved ready for them. I often think back to that desperate moment when I destroyed my ship's FTL drive. The humans later told me it was that act of defiance more than anything else that convinced them to help. Anyone can beg for aid, they explained. Few will destroy their only means of escape to demand it. The changes in my own people were profound. We became teachers, helping other emerging civilizations avoid the mistakes we had made. Our birthing pools, once our greatest vulnerability, became centers of cultural exchange, where young of various species learned together about the importance of unity and mutual respect. The humans themselves remained enigmatic. Though they maintained contact through their advanced interfaces, they never revealed their evolved forms. Some said they had become beings of pure energy. Others believed they had merged completely with their technology. The truth, I suspect, was beyond our ability to comprehend. One thing became clear: humanity's centuries of isolation hadn't been about fear or revenge, it had been about evolution. They had used that time to become something new, something that could guide the galaxy without controlling it, protect without dominating, teach without imposing. 10 years after my desperate flight into human space, I returned to the exact coordinates where my engines had first failed. My ship, a new model incorporating both Vulcan and human technology, hung in the void as I broadcast a simple message: "Thank you for teaching us to be better than our enemies, rather than just stronger." The response came not in words, but in a sensation of warmth and understanding that filled my mind. In that moment, I finally understood what humanity had become: not the galaxy's warriors or rulers, but its guardians, watching from the shadows, ready to help those who proved worthy of trust. Decades have passed since that first encounter, and still I serve as the primary liaison between my people and humanity. My eye stalks have grown dull with age, but I've witnessed changes I never thought possible. The galaxy, once a cruel arena where the strong devoured the weak, has transformed into something closer to the dream those first human explorers must have had: a community of civilizations, working together, growing together. The Threens, under the watchful eye of humanity's quantum anchors, gradually rejoined galactic society. Their young are now taught about the consequences of unchecked aggression, using their own history as a cautionary tale. In an ironic twist, they've become some of the strongest advocates for protecting developing civilizations. Sometimes, late in the sleep cycle, I stand at the viewport of my quarters in the Vulcan Central Command, watching the stars. Somewhere out there, humanity continues its evolution, guiding without governing, protecting without possessing. They've shown us that true power lies not in the ability to destroy worlds, but in the wisdom to know when not to. Our birthing pools now produce a generation that has never known the terror of Threen raids. They swim in safety, protected by technologies beyond our ancestors' wildest dreams. But more importantly, they grow up understanding the responsibility that comes with power. Every larvae learns the story of humanity's journey, from victims to guardians, and our own path, from desperation to dignity. The humans were right about one thing above all else: the galaxy does teach harsh lessons. But they proved that learning those lessons doesn't mean becoming harsh ourselves. They showed us that sometimes the greatest victory isn't in winning the war, but in creating a peace worth protecting. Yesterday, I received a message from the humans, the first direct communication in several cycles. They're detecting signals from a new spacefaring race at the galaxy's edge. This species, like so many before them, is sending out hopeful messages of peaceful contact and cultural exchange. The humans want me to serve as their first contact. You know what to look for now, the message said. You understand the difference between those who deserve help and those who need to learn through experience. We trust your judgment. As my ship prepares for the long journey to the galaxy's edge, I think back to that desperate pilot I once was, firing his weapon into his only means of escape. I wonder what that version of me would think about becoming a teacher rather than a warrior, a builder rather than a destroyer. The humans taught us that the true measure of a civilization isn't in its weapons or its wealth, but in its capacity for growth. They showed us that redemption is possible, that evolution isn't just physical but spiritual, that the strongest steel is forged in the hottest fires. And so we continue their work, watching, waiting, and helping those who prove themselves worthy of trust. The galaxy is still a dangerous place, but now there is hope where once there was only fear, and somewhere out there humanity watches. Their greatest victory, not in the wars they won, but in the peace they helped create. This is the legacy they entrusted to us. This is the future we must protect. This is the lesson that cost 6 centuries to learn, but will guide us for millennia to come. The stars await. It's time to teach another race what humanity taught us, that the greatest power lies not in the strength to stand alone, but in the wisdom to stand together. If this tale of humanity's redemption and transformation resonated with you, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to hear more stories from across the galaxy. Share this with fellow space enthusiasts who appreciate tales of hope, redemption, and the profound impact of choosing wisdom over vengeance. Turn on that notification bell to catch future chronicles of humanity's silent guardianship and the civilizations they've helped shape, and bring hint clips. Until next time, keep watching the stars. You never know when humanity might be watching back.